San Antonio Spurs defeated the Denver Nuggets 113-110. The story of this game was the battle of the centers, Victor Wembanyama versus Nikola Jokic. In this game, Victor Wembanyama had a great game, 35 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steals, 2 blocks, nearly 70% shooting from the field. Jokic got 41 points, but wasn't nearly as efficient as Victor. He only shot 41% overall from the field, so obviously he got 41, but it was like a hard 41 since his efficiency wasn't good. He had 18 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. Overall, a good game. What's interesting about this matchup, the first 3 times these guys met, Jokic absolutely destroyed Victor last year. And then in the 4th meeting, Victor outplayed Jokic. And in this meeting, Victor, I would say, held his own against Jokic. You could even say outplayed him since he shot better when it came to efficiency compared to Jokic. But it's interesting how Jokic owned him the first 3 games. The last 2 games have been basically a wash between these two. It shows to me that Victor is like a cyborg. He figures things out. He adapts very fast. He may struggle at first, but eventually he figures out things, especially just against Jokic. And I was thinking, like, when will Victor surpass Jokic? You kind of know it's going to eventually happen. That's always been the history of the game. You may have an established center, but always a young center comes in and eventually overtakes an established center. So, for example, you had Wilt Chamberlain back in the day, who was the most dominant center in the league, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came in eventually and overtook him. I think Kareem was like several years younger than him, kind of like the same age gap with Victor and Jokic, but Kareem eventually immediately overtook him within a few years of being in the league. I'm not so sure it'll be that quick for Victor when it comes to Jokic, but the other examples are just when Hakeem, Patrick Ewing came into the league, and they eventually overtook Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as like the best centers in the league. And then Dave Robinson came in also to join them, and they established being the best centers during at least the first half of the 90s. You had a young Shaq that came in there, and he challenged them and eventually overtook those guys towards the end of their careers in the late 90s. So it's like a cycle that eventually Victor, if he remains healthy, he will overtake Jokic. Jokic has like 9 years on him. Victor just turned 21 now. Jokic will turn 30 in a month. So it's a question of just when will it happen. I think, I'm going to be bold and say in the next, I think in the next 3 years, 3 or 4 years, Victor will overtake Jokic as the best center in the league. Because I think by then Jokic will be starting to get there up there in age. He'll be 33, 34. Granted, Jokic has a great old man's game, but I think Victor he keeps on getting better leaps and bounds every season. So I definitely think he will overtake him. It'll be pretty interesting as Jokic is so dominant right now. Jokic is still having MVP seasons. So you kind of wonder how long Jokic can keep up this stretch of dominance. That's a good question. But I think Victor is breathing down his neck, and that eventually Victor is going to grab the torch from him and become the best center in the league. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how this develops. I feel this will be an epic matchup for the next few years as you see Victor continues to get better and better, and you'll see the progress in his development and how he's gotten better every time he faces Jokic. And I think it's a good sign if you're a Spurs fan, because you see how competitive Victor is, how he always improves against his rivals. Like, they may humiliate him, but he always gets the better of them eventually. So that's a mark of a true competitor. I just want to throw that in there.